everybody, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann. Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Disembodied Beard, John, and, Earless Korniko. Yes. Just in time, Kuro. She can't hear me say that, but that's okay. How are y'all? Pretty soon, you become enough of a function on this stream, Kara, and I'm gonna have to start introducing you, too. Disembodied Weasel Kara. Alrighty. Oh, I'm so sluggish today, guys. I slept crappy. I made the mistake of I got, like, you know, a new kind of diet plan thing. And it wanted me to have a protein snack, but it was a bigger protein snack. But I was like, all right, well, I'll try it. And it wanted me to have it at, like, 9 p.m. Way too much food, so I didn't sleep well. So, yeah. So now we're going to kind of do what you have to do with, like, eating plans, which is to personalize them to what works for you, right? Amazing thought. Alrighty, so we're gonna do gold and steel. Let's do steel first. Need my grays. Some things. Oh no, I did change that. Oh no! Oh no, I've changed just enough in my box to be completely disorganized. No, that's not the right one. No, that's not the right one. Oh, come on. No, that's not the right one for sure. Here? No, not the right one. Here? No, not the right one. Damn it! Nope, not the right one either. Garg! Where is it? I know it's here. No! Is it the last one? No! Wait a minute here. Arg! Aw. Guys, I've totally effed up my life here. Wait a minute. Maybe I left it out. No. No. Oh, no. I don't know where my carbon gray went. Damn it. Most annoying thing ever. Well, now I have to use something else. How can I... Oh, maybe I put it over by the grays. Ugh, go figure it was by the grays. Arrgh! Oh, that sucks, Inara. No, I reorganized. When I came back from Reaper, I threw everything out of my drawer here, and I put in only the paints. Like, I reorganized my whole drawer. Like, I've been meaning to for a while. So I took all the paint out of there, and I put only the paint back that, you know, I didn't return things that I hadn't used in a long time and stuff. But it meant I reorganized my sections a bit. I also brought back, you know, some new colors that I made at Reaper, and I had to make room for them. So I had to reorg. Apparently my brain just does not understand that, you know, carbon gray does not belong in the blacks and dark colors section. It belongs in the gray section. I mean, it technically belongs in the blacks and dark color section, let's face it. But there was no more room in there, so here we are. And also, I need to totally see if I have another bottle of rich leather, because I'm feeling its lack right now. Hold on. Let me grab my giant... I mean, this is a giant box of paint. Hopefully there's a rich leather in here somewhere. Because, like, otherwise I'm kind of rich leather without. Nope. I have a crap ton of oxide brown. There it is! Yay! I knew I had one! Huzzah! We're saved, everybody! We're saved! For a minute there, pure panic. Pure panic. This might be the only bottle in here, too. Just looking to see if I have any others, but I think that's it. Yeah. So, there. That's the final bottle. I have this entire tub of this box of paint here. Box full of paint. My last several paint orders for Reaper. What am I doing? Oh, okay. That's what I'm doing. Excellent. I wanted that for the gold. I was getting sick of not having it, because I somehow managed to probably put it in the other room or misplace it. Morning, Slayer. I mean, oxides are oxidized iron, so it's that ferrous element oxidized. Rust, in fact. Usually heated. Oxides are usually like umber, right? Umber is a brown oxide. Like burnt umber is heated umber, and raw umber is umber without the heat application. Oh no, it's completely full of paint. It's just the last several, like, every time I do a Reaper order for minis for this show, I grab some paint usually, and often I'll have a running list next to me. But when they come, I haven't actually run out of the bottle I've got, so I just put them in that box. Pretty much I just found random paint bottles at the bottom of every box of, like, miniatures that I hadn't organized yet, and so I just put them all in one box. I probably need to organize them, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Yeah. No, my shipment of paint I brought back with me from Reaper. That was the shipment. That was like 100 plus colors that I brought back with me from Reaper. 120, 130. So, yeah. Alright, let's get this going on. Yeah, I don't need another big paint order, Laura. I brought a big one back. The only thing I need now is a few things that Bonita was working on for me. But I might just wait till ReaperCon to get that. No, I mean, there's really, I don't own everything, but I own everything pertinent. Like, I think that as you become a better painter, you gravitate away from having a bottle of everything, and you gravitate toward having several bottles of the things that you use the most to mix with, or to just use. Because you get your favorites, and you get, like, the things that work for you. Just like with any pursuit. Any hobby. You narrow down what works for you. Oh, and I need to add a drop of color into that. What should I use? Let's go looking. What should I use? What have I got? Anything interesting? Is there anything interesting in here? Oh, that's new. That's new. Let's use that. So, one of the things I did when I was at Reaper is I finally got an opportunity to reformulate some colors that were my favorites. Oh no, you always need paint, seriously. And usually, if you're me, you even order other people's paint to keep up with the industry and what's going on. But you just don't need 300 colors anymore. You don't need every paint. Yeah, this is top secret. So, one of my favorite all-time colors, one that I insisted on having in the original 54 Master Series, was Twilight Blue. However, at that point I was very new to paint mixing, and Al was mostly running the show. So it never covered like I wanted it to cover. So when I went to Reaper, I finally had the opportunity, since we were doing some reformulations, I finally had my opportunity to reformulate Twilight Blue. Its new name is Twilight Shadows. Its coverage is much, much improved. It's a beautiful gray-blue with a hint of violet. It is, it's the equivalent for the old Space Wolf gray from Games Workshop. Old, like 20 years ago, before it became a really pale color. And it's a great base for that if you are actually painting Space Wolves. This is a great base, then work up that lighter color over the top. It's so secret we show it to the internet. But anyway, so I don't know, again, when this reformulation will go into effect. It is renamed because I did have to shift the color slightly. I chose to when I did it. So now it's Twilight Shadows, which I love. Because then it goes better with Snow Shadow, right? Because that's the whole thing, right? You want it to go well with Snow Shadow. And now it's just like these two are made to be together. You add a pure white highlight on that, you get a triad, right? So anyway, that was one of the things. I want to put this in here, because I always put a color in. off on that, Laura, because, you know, top secret. There's going to be a top secret announcement at ReaperCon. So that's well before winter. You should hold on. Unless, of course, you're convinced that, you know, you need these colors, then go ahead. I'm going to just drop a couple drops in here. We'll be using a lot of these top secret colors, probably headed forward. Of course, once the announcement comes out, then you all know what's going on. There we go. I just wanted a slightly different gray, and then we're going to pop that over here and add some white to it to make a highlight color. But yeah, ReaperCon is confirmed as the big announcement. You will all find out what top secret means at that point. And that, of course, will be at the end of August. I'm excited because I'm sick of saying top secret. So that, it does not have enough of a shift. Like if you're using your paint thicker, then this is a good shift. If you don't want to thin. But if you are thinning your paint by any measure, then you want to add a little bit more white. Yeah, I would hope that we'd be live streaming from ReaperCon. I mean, we usually are to some extent, I thought. We usually have a few things coming out, you know, going on during ReaperCon. Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty standard. Pretty standard colors there, Laura. No surprises there. Then I would just order. You would just order anytime then. Those are not top secret. Ugh, my eyeball. My eyeball is very itchy today. And unfortunately, I put lotion on my hands, then I itched it, which means it's going to be itchier. Yeah, you're kind of out of luck then, Hyper, unless you go in on the order with trash so that you can continue getting the paints that you use. Although, as I think I mentioned before, most out-of-print colors are close to other things that exist. And it's easy to shift. Game over, man. But yeah, oh no, we're sticky. Where's my, I know I have an extra pad of blue tack up here somewhere. Yeah, my blue tack is definitely getting old. I mean, when it comes down to it, a color is a color is a color. You can use, when you're trying to mix like blush colors for skin tone, you can use any red. Some reds may give you a result you like better than others, but like you can use any red for that. You don't have to, when you're mixing colors, Rhonda has brought this up too. Everybody overthinks it. Like everybody overthinks mixing colors. The biggest thing is just to make sure that you're not using a color with a lot of other pigments in it. The more pure the color, the easier it is to mix and to duplicate results. So if you're mixing and you're getting mud, you're using colors that have other stuff in them. You don't know it, but they do. And by other stuff, it could be something as easy as a yellow that has more than one yellow pigment in it. Like if it's got 3 different yellow pigments in it, as like NMM Gold Highlight does, it's not going to be the best mixer. It's going to give you a muted color. If you want muted, then perfect. You've picked the right color for that. All right, there we go. Ugh, I just want to get this stuff attached so bad, but I still have to paint the front of him in order to do that. So that's why we're trying to get things figured out. I had to paint his black. But we'll at least get the sword. We'll get highlights on the gray today, the gray cloth. Yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, so, oof, oof, oof. Now, I did freshly mix this, so I am going to actually do it. Press it down just a little bit. Get close. There we are. Alright, I want one more highlight for this gray. I don't want to go up too high because I'm doing cloth. I will go up to white on the blade, but I need a good medium light, or yeah, medium light to be my top cloth highlight. So usually I grab 2 brushfuls of a color and then I'll add 1 or 2 drops of white depending on how strongly I want to go up. And sometimes I will use an off-white, such as Top Secret Zenith Yellow, if I want that effect. But as I did not do the rest of the model with that effect, and I wouldn't use that color, by the way, on anything with white. Unless that was the effect I was looking for. Because obviously, if you are painting pure white on anything, like he has white hair, then if you're using that Zenith Yellow, your whites are going to go slightly yellowish. And if you want that effect, where everything has a slightly gold cast, then okay, but it may keep your whites from reading correctly. Most of us are not painting pure white on every mini, so it doesn't normally matter, but I wanted to mention that. That's the downside of using an off-white like linen white. A lot of people used to paint using an off-white like linen white or zenith as their highest highlight. And it does give you often a more natural effect, but when you're painting pure white, it can throw you off. Ugh. So I'm very sleepy today. I need to take a nap because it's CrossFit night tonight. Alrighty. And my white's going to be a 2-to-1 paint to water. Oh, dearie me. All right. Oh, and I need my dark. Which I'm going to use gray liner. Why not? I should maybe use carbon gray with that. Could use a carbon gray black mix. I could actually, I think I used brown liner on some of this. Yeah, I did. So actually, nix that. We're using brown liner. How odd. Why on earth don't you have candlelight yellow? That seems sus to me. I have candlelight yellow. I can prove it. Yeah. And since I actually put it away, I actually knew where to look for it. We're going to have those moments until I learn where all the paints are that I've sorted. We're going to have those moments where Anne totally loses a color. Still have enough stuff. Ah. Yeah, dangerous there, Kara. Because, yeah. What happens if Paizo decides they don't want us to make Pathfinder anymore? I guess it doesn't matter. You could use either. It's not like if Pathfinder disappeared, it isn't like you couldn't get yourself a bottle of Candlelight Yellow. Doubly so since you live right by Reaper. Yeah, Pathfinder can be canceled at any time. Like, if Paizo or Reaper decides that it's not worth it, Pathfinder can totally go poof. Like that's the nature of contracted paint lines. Like it's why Ed was never a big fan of doing that kind of thing, but he let me do the heavy gear one because the heavy gear guys approached me about it back in the day. But yeah, then that, it disappeared when the contract wasn't renewed. And but Sarenrae is just an orangey yellow. I mean, it's not like there aren't a ton of other orangey yellows out there to use. It is a common color. Like, with that kind of thing, that's what I was talking about with people, like, with the overmixing or overthinking mixing things. Like, if the color you are using is, like, a commonly seen color, let's actually focus in. Like an orangey yellow, an orangey red, a greeny blue, whatever. You can be assured that you're going to be able to find something close enough to work with, even if that paint gets light the turducken. Nice. Yeah, like if Marigold dies tomorrow, there are plenty of orangey yellows for you to use. So I'm getting it dark in here, just kind of mixing back and forth to see how dark and what those shadows. I've never liked Marigold Yellow. I'll share a secret with you. It's actually my most loathed yellow. Because it was never, again, because Al was the one who was mostly running the show in the paint department at that point, because he was training me. It was never the yellow I wanted it to be. I know it has fans, but I was never satisfied with it. Just going to add, do a dark shadow across a lot of the bottom. Going to hit this line with a lighter gray. You can use the side of the brush for this a bit. It's a very shallow bend, though, so it's not giving us a very sharp line here. So that means I'll have to freehand it. Alright, so I've got to remember that the sword is going to be pointing down like this, so I need to keep in mind, where my reflected light's going to be. I'm kind of looking at it. There's not a lot of color down here at all, so most of our highlights are going to be pretty neutral. Well, if you love it, you should order it now. I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying for months. Although I guess if you come to ReaperCon and, Trashorama continues to do the stuff, and if ReaperCon continues to go on, that's the downside of that, right? Well, you can always order it. I mean, I don't think Reaper's ever going to stop. Well, okay, certainly not anytime soon, doing paint special orders. So if you love the color, you'll always be able to order it, even if you have to order it in bulk. But it's more convenient to be able to pick it up in smaller amounts. So if you love it, buy it. I'm just doing a bit of lighter lining around the edges here, not in a white, which I will eventually. I do want to paint this entire upper layer in a slightly lighter color, however. And I'm going to really lighten it toward the tip because that's where it starts to sweep out. You'd find something else and something else. That's funny. So wet blending, if you can manage to do it, is kind of the best way to do MM steel. It's very hard to layer from black to white or from near black to white. But wet blending enables you to get that blend that you need. Can be hard to wet blend with really tiny amounts like I'm doing right now, because they do tend to dry a little faster, but you know, just give it a shot. I'm going to do a shadow, highlight shadow here. Yeah, that's just it, right, Crypto? Like, actually, that's something I'm going to be talking about in my new YouTube video. But it's like, you can, like, stop at any level on your journey as you become a better painter. I mean, you can stop at, and choose to stop at any level and just kind of hang out there for a while, right? And it doesn't mean that you're not going to, you know, try to get better. It doesn't mean that you're going to be there forever. It just means that that's where you're happy right now, and you're just gonna, you know, sit there and enjoy it for a while. Enjoy whatever your level of mastery is at that point. It's a perfectly valid way of doing things, and it's double valid because it's counter to our mainstream narrative that gets pushed at us all the time, that we have to get the best as fast as we can. And that's not true at all, and it makes you miss the good things in the journey a lot. Yeah, what Karai says is it's worth nothing. Yeah, good is relative anyway. But yeah, a lot of people would benefit from just taking their time, especially when it's your hobby. It's not your life, right? Like, with me, it's a large part of my life, but it's still like, I'm the only one who gets to tell myself to push myself, right? But I thought about competition painting the other day, and it right away made me feel kind of buggy. So once again, I have backed off to just painting the way I want to paint. And if that means that I don't have anything for Adepticon, that means I don't have anything for Adepticon. I'm going with David next year. Right, exactly. Yep. Yeah, you just gotta, like, hang out in the spot you're happy. I mean, I've been fighting this. Like, it feels like when I think about competition painting, it sucks all my energy out. When I think about just painting for me to a high level, I'm all happy. So it's like, it's a very subtle mental shift there. But what it means is I really can't demand anything of myself right now. I'm like, I've got enough stuff going on. I mean, the one thing I do demand is that I finish the book this year. Like, that's a demand, but I try to put very few of those on myself. Because I'm juggling a lot of balls. We're all juggling a lot of balls. I mean, look at Modern Lifestyle. We're all juggling a crap ton of stuff. Like friendships and relationships and, family getting older or, having new ones that are younger. In the case of those of you with kids, and those suck up your brain cells too and your energy. The last thing we need is to be throwing a bunch of demands on ourselves at times like that. Like, again, just doing a little bit of blending. I want the sword. The sword is kind of front and center, so I want it to look pretty. I want it to look nice. Yes, I agree, Crexo. Yeah, it's a good way to think, Inara. I mean, if you have fun, now if you discover that you can have fun pushing yourself, like when you're painting for fun, if you're like, I want to try and make this, really cool and blended, that's awesome, but do it for yourself. Don't do it because you perceive that somebody else's expectations when they're looking at it, are going to want that or stuff like that. And if you can do it that way, you can maintain your joy and still strive for being a little bit better. But the minute the fun shuts down, yeah, that's when to back off and just let yourself do whatever yourself wants to do. And it's a little hard because, I do like entering competitions and I like showing my best. But at the same time, it's like the models that I want to paint recently just aren't really good competition pieces. And yet, yes, that's a thing. I talk about that, I think, in one of my... I think I did a thing on painting for competition a while ago. I don't know, I'd have to look it up. Probably I need to actually slant this a little bit down. The light's going to be coming down from above, so I need to slant that light. Yeah. But yeah, for me, because of my strengths, if I want to really push a competition piece, I have to have somewhere I can do like freehand or something cool like that. Because it's a strength of mine. And lately I want to paint like dragon busts, and that's not a freehand project. Well, except for Ice Dragon. Ice Dragon had freehand because the crystals. But so yeah, but I mean that impressionistic style, that's something you could go back to and do with even a higher skill level. Like that's the thing, right? It's unique and cool. Like being painterly in the miniature painting, world can be an asset. Like it makes you stand out. A lot of people really like textures and brushstrokes and seeing evidence of them. So it's not entirely a negative. I mean, if you want smooth blending, then yeah, learn to do it. I mean, it's good to have it in your toolbox, but it isn't something you need to always reach for. What does need to be evident, though, is that you are definitely going for that, and it's not a lack of ability on your part. Like that's always the challenge when you're working with a technique that could be equal parts, I just don't know how to blend, or I'm really trying to get this effect, right? You have to think about how you're utilizing it. Oops, sorry, off camera. So I want those two highlights now. I want to highlight that white highlight right up here. Oh, I'm sorry, Koro. Right, exactly, Crixo. Yeah. And that happens. Yeah. I mean, I get the whole, everything doesn't have to be smooth. But I also, think that smoothness and texture work hand in hand on a kind of back and forth seesaw kind of way. I like to see both. Your glasses were artificially blending. Yep. Yeah. That's funny. That's why David paints without his glasses. His eyes are actually better nearsighted. So now I'll start to do white lines. And these aren't perfect blends at all, right? If I really wanted to get a good blend, I would glaze. There are ways to do it with layering, but it involves just so much work. That I seldom do it on stream. Yes, your glasses were artificially blending. Alright, so now we want everything down here to be darker, but we can still do undulating light and shadow. Usually you want to kind of offset them. Like if you've got shadow here, you want light there. But you also have to think about how it would be in the real world. Like this would definitely be facing downward and it would get some light. Oh, I used to paint like this. Yes. See the world through my eyes. Yeah, I wear my reading glasses when judging minis for sure. Even David, when he hands me something, he's like, get your eyeballs. I think I need a major nap before I go to CrossFit tonight. I just am really feeling it today. And after so many days of sleeping really well, tanking my sleep is like double bad. Because now I know what it feels like to get good sleep. It makes me sad. Just trying to get kind of my darks and lights blocked in here. And then I'll come back and I'll kind of mess them up. Because I do want the lower edge to be lighter no matter what. But it won't come up to the level of highlight here. Where did you compete, Val? So it's a lot of blending back and forth when you're doing dark to light in such a very small area, which is why I like the wet blending a little bit better for it. Oh, Pokemon. That's funny. Well, hey, did you have fun though? Because that's like the important thing. Was it a good time? And sometimes it's a lot of like painting it over and going back and saying, oh, I dropped this, line. I dropped this shadow. I need this shadow to be sharper. And also, did you have to like win your way into that? Like, did you have to like compete at local tournaments and then regionals and stuff to get to go to the international Pokemon tournament? Or is it like a buy-in, like the World Series of Poker? Nice. Yeah, I used to do magic. I sold my magic to get more into miniatures. I started playing with pretty later, Unlimited, I think, Ice Age, all that kind of stuff, long time ago. I wasn't early enough to be alpha and beta, but I was still able to sell my cards for like probably all the sales because I just sold them a little bit at a time over time. But after everything, I probably made a good $1,000 off of it over the course of several years. But I wasn't like seriously into the whole like buying and selling cards thing. Mostly I was just like playing and mucking around and then like, oh, I need some money for more miniatures. Eventually I just sold all my magic stuff to my local game store that I worked at and used the income to buy miniatures. I was having more fun playing Warhammer with my friends than I was playing Magic. Ah, the Worlds requires an invite. Got it. So then it is like the World Series of poker with Pokemon. Because there are like secondary events with prizes. And even if you don't like compete or go anywhere at the main event, you can do other events and win World Series of Pokemon. Alright, so we've got kind of like there, we don't have a lot of undulation as far as our lights and darks here yet. So I need to bring that in. Hey there, Derek. What's up? Oh, with Kara and Michael. Oh, cool. Nice. Good to know. Yeah, he's getting close to done, Derek. We did I did a different border than you did. Decided to make something up. But yeah, we're just sitting here like agonizing over, NMM steel like you do. Bird time. But again, yeah, it's really hard to blend. It's hard even to wet blend these little areas unless you're very fast, because since you're working with such small areas, the paint dries very quickly. And that means that you don't have a lot of time to wet blend. It's got to be super fast. Yeah, I like how the border turned out. Been doing a lot of borders lately. Just finished the paint job on Cat Guy as well. Glenn Harris's Cat Guy. Doing a lot of borders. Alright, let's do our white edging around everything, and I'm going to make a judgment call. Oh, nice, the hippogriff. I like the hippogriff. I might need a little thicker white for this, so I'm going to actually mix one up. Separate. Starting to think that every time I like order from Reaper as far as paint, I need to just order another 6 pure whites. Alright, so a 4-to-1. So base coat consistency for the white lining. I want to be able to put a thin line down, but I want it to be very bold. And then we'll go and do the other side. Then I need to do more here, but I want to make sure that I don't just get sucked in on one side of the sword and not paint the other. Also, we've got a little bit of steel showing through here, so I have to get that as well. So I'll get to that in a second. So I'll edge where I can with the side of my brush. And I know that this is a nice sharp line, but I also know when I tried to sideline this that it got a little gunky. So I know I'm going to have to use freehand skills to line this center bevel. Little blorpy. When it gets blorpy, throw water on it and scrub it off. And pull the water off so it can dry quick. Yeah, I really needed better sleep last night. I really, really did. I'm looking at my day. This is a lot of workout to do on short sleep. So I'm just going to do a thin line. If I really blurf up on this side, it's easy to touch up with the brown liner. Oh. And because I'm using thicker paint, it's going to want to dry my brush a little faster, so I'm going to need to reload fairly often. And it's not going to want to make as thin a line as if I thinned it a bit, but there we go, so it's sharper. I mean, I consider blorpy a technical term, personally. Hey there, Crowley. So I should be able to use the side of my brush to get this line down here. Because again, it's a pretty sharp angle. So yeah, I am able to do that. Now I just want a little bit more highlight toward the tip there on this underside. I'll layer this up and give it a little bit more light, like so. Blorf. I can tell I'm tired because I keep messing up. Remember, guys, sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes it's just that you didn't get great sleep. Alrighty. Boom. Now we gotta go over on the other side. Oh, we need to get this done. Sorry. We have this little space in here. So inside this little area, I'm just gonna put highlight on the top and a little bit of a reflection on the bottom and a little bit of shadow down the middle. Since there's just a tiny bit of that showing, you don't need to do a lot. To make it look like in line with everything else. All right. Other side. Now this is going to be the back side, so we don't need to do as much on the back side. We do want to get the basics down, just because you can see behind it. We do have a little bit of this, like the whole thing with blades, where you've got this kind of section at the top that you normally would never see in real life because the blade is too narrow. But I usually just like to define that with a side lining real quick. That was blorpy. Blorpy, very blorpy. Okay, so it's going to be held downward, so I want my shadow to be right here. The reason for that is that if the blade is held down, the light's going to hit here, and then it's going to kind of sweeps away, so that's going to be a shadow. I want another shadow up here by the hilt. I'm just going to actually put my dark all in here to narrow the light where I got kind of clumsy with that, so I can get that. And we can bring this up a little bit here. And bring it up down here. So I want kind of just a blend from the shadow through. I don't want to put a lot of time in that top of the blade. I just want to kind of map it out so that it looks convincing, and so there's something there if anybody notices it. And I want to bring it up very light toward the tip, since that's where it's kind of sweeping out. And up here. The allergies are back today. After a day that was actually pretty decent yesterday, everything swept back in this morning. Alrighty, might have to take a Benadryl after stream. Yeah, Blorfy. So the edge there is kind of soft, so the paint is not behaving nicely. It's okay. That's fine. Let's just block in the rest of this real quick with our shadow. I like to make a continuous dark line of shadow, even though I know I'm going to break it up. Just to remind myself that stuff down here is darker than the stuff up top. We'll fix that in a second. Though I want everything to be light up there anyway, so it really isn't a bad deal that blorf happened. Paint the top part all lighter gray. And we'll block that in. And we'll kind of reverse our design from the other side on this side. But again, this side isn't really going to be seen, so we can do quick block in and we're probably okay. I can keep the paint job simpler. If I really wanted to do realistic, you know, I'd look at it and say, okay, it's going to reflect like a little bit of red and, you know, it's got some light there. But it's probably more than I need to do because the blade is just going to, let's see how much it sticks out actually. If it sticks out, we have to actually work it. It sticks out a little at the tip, I think. Okay, so when it's in place, we don't even really see the underside because it's tilted away from us. So that means the bottom part, I really don't have to do anything to. Nobody can see it. the top edge I will want to spend more time on. Boop. So I like to do this for detached parts. I like to just have a nice pad of sticky tack that I've freshly mixed up so it's not stringy. Just kind of tap the piece down on top of it, and because it's pretty sticky because it's freshly mixed, it'll just kind of hold it in place while I paint it, and I don't have to handle it, which is great. Hey there, Michael. Yeah, this also narrows as it gets closer to the tip. We lose a lot of that, so it's a little more difficult to keep it in line. All right, not bad. Keep going. We'll bring up our light in the middle here and toward the end. I want to put a little bit more of a shadow here. I've lost it. Uh-oh, Miss Barky Face just started barking. Kiki, I assure you there's nobody there. Yeah, this is a little bit, the cast here is not as great. I'm struggling a little bit with some roughness on the plastic. It's just something I didn't notice before I started painting, so now we have to deal with it. It'll just mean I have to sculpt with paint a little bit more to tighten things up. Alrighty. Hey there, Kerniko, or sorry, Kerniko was waving to Michael. I'm like, wait, huh? Who, huh? So we'll just edge. We'll bring up another light up here. I'm going to bring this up a little bit more here and slide that back a little. See, I can't believe, like, ReaperCon is coming as fast as it is. Like, 2 months. A reminder that I won't be streaming on Friday. I'm taking a 3-day weekend for my birthday. Mostly because I felt like I didn't have much of a weekend last weekend. Oh, sell on feathers, huh? The tricky thing with feathers is that hypothetically you should have transmitted light, but of course the sculpt doesn't let light through. But otherwise, I mean, feathers have a sheen to them. So they will pick up a lot of light. But Derek's pretty masterful at feathers, so I mean, I would pick his brain. Not as good as the other side. The other side looks better. That's all right. It happens. But again, we don't have to do as much on this side. We just have to make it there and decent and looking like NMM. So I think I need to thin down my darker gray a little bit here. Part of the problem is I'm probably working. My paints have gotten too thick. Yep. Yeah, David will be around. Warning, he's pretty hardcore on his feedback, so get your... If you don't want hardcore feedback, tell him to go easy on you before he starts. Because David is really honest and he's really blunt. And it can be off-putting if you're not ready for it. But it's also, everything he says is useful. Like, also keep in mind, like, with any of us, when you're at a certain high level, sometimes our critiques, like, a bit of what we like is going to sneak into them. Like, if we're not, getting a particular part of your paint job, it could be just that that's not the way we like to do it. And that's fair. You don't have to, like, totally switch up your own style just because we think something, that we don't like it as much. Now, if we say it's not reading well, then you have to listen. Because if you had an intention, but we say your intention isn't working, it may not be just that it's not working for us. It may just not be working. Yeah, you should never take it personally. I mean, what David's saying is that choosing the model is part of competing. Like, choosing the right model, which is something I mentioned earlier. I mentioned that, the problem is that, like, the things I want to paint right now aren't good competition models. And that implies that there are good and bad competition model choices, and that's absolutely true. So when David speaks of that, it's probably not, as you say, it's not personal. It's just that choosing a good model for a competition will put you a couple rungs up on the ladder as far as having a chance at, placing or scoring or whatever you're trying to do. And given, if you take a terrible model and put an amazing paint job on it, you can still, win something. But you'll have had to work harder to get there. And that's a perfectly valid choice. But there are definitely times where choice of the model can make the journey easier for you. But a lot of people who enter don't think of that. They just see a model, they want to paint it, and they paint it, and they enter it. So. But yeah, with David, you're always going to get David's unvarnished thoughts. He's not going to pull punches. It's the way he is. Yeah, it's like starting with a handicap. Yep. Yeah, it doesn't sell the joke. Yep. Yep. Well, but if you go in now this brings something up though. Then, if you were in for that, yeah, I mean, that's just fine. Then just tell him you're not looking for feedback. Like this is what you wanted to paint. Like, don't ask for feedback if you haven't put effort, like if your best effort into it, if you just wanted to do it and you didn't care if you won, seeking feedback then is just kind of like, it's a little wobbly for us to give it, because then we're going to assume, oh, you want feedback, you want to get better, you want to have placed higher, right? But then you're like, oh no, I just wanted to paint this. Then we're like, oh well, why? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give you competition feedback. Then, it's so. I think it's important when you're pointing out your model to somebody else and you know that you're likely they're going to give you some feedback on it, to just say right up front, I know maybe I could have done it better, but this is just what I wanted to paint, right? Val, the top secret stuff is going to be announced at ReaperCon, not before ReaperCon. Although you shouldn't assume what that top secret's going to be. It's fine if you want to assume something that's for the worst, just so you're not surprised. But keep in mind that what you assume may not be true. Or it may not be the whole truth. Or it may be only a tiny sliver of the truth. I'm not going to tell you which, because it's top secret. But yes, I can't wait till I can stop talking about top secret things and saying top secret. Yeah, but when you're when it's a matter of when the feedback on the paint job is like just that, well, fewer models would have been better, like that's the feedback. Like if David gave your husband that feedback, what he's saying is, I can see that you could have done better with this if you would have chosen fewer models, right? So, like, it's very hard for us to give feedback on something. That's why I always tell people, when you approach me for feedback, don't approach me for feedback on something where you know there are faults. Approach me for feedback when you have painted a model to the best of your ability, and then I will tell you what your next step is, right? But one of the worst feelings that we get when you approach for feedback is, like, if we say, you know, oh, blah, blah, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, you know, I knew that. You know, that was a waste of both our times. Like, it would have been better, you know, if your husband wants David's feedback, he needs to paint a single model to the best he can do, and then, you know, then show that to David, right? Bye, Crowley. Like, I'm just talking about effectiveness, mostly. Like, as far as getting the best feedback for you. Like, this is a thing. Because, like, what David probably felt is that he wasn't seeing the best your husband could have done. Because there were 4 models instead of 1. Like, that means that he saw high potential in some of the stuff your husband was doing, but that he couldn't really tell if it was a thing because there were 4 models. You can guess whatever you want, Val, but I'm not going to confirm anything. You'll know after ReaperCon. Or actually, you'll know at ReaperCon. Sorry. You will know what the plan will be at that time. Plan accordingly. I think we've been saying for a while now that there's going to be an announcement at ReaperCon. So that's all we got for you. I need to stay on Ron's good side or he won't pay for my ReaperCon hotel room. No soul. Oh, okay. That's fine. Well, if it was really casual, then yeah, then, like, you definitely shouldn't be taking anything personally at that point. It's different. I'm worried about that the way you said it, like, that you didn't take it personally, and I'm like, well, but David is definitely not speaking, like, to hurt anybody. David is just trying to give you helpful feedback, always. So, pardon me if I got defensive about my husband. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And David's almost always on hardcore mode also. Like, he's going to give you honest, unvarnished opinion, like, assuming you want to get better. He's not going to just go, oh yeah, those are cool. Like I buy sometimes if it's a casual thing. Like, I'm more likely to say, oh yeah, those are cool. I like that model. Whatever. Nice color scheme. I'm more likely to do that and then only say anything else if directly asked. But David doesn't necessarily have that filter. That filter comes from, like, ages and years and eons of me talking to people about their models. I'm kind of a believer that you should never take anything that anybody says about your art personally. Like, it's their impression. It has nothing to do with you. It's a hard thing to do, but I've finally managed to get to that mental place. Doesn't mean it doesn't sting in the moment, but I just kind of shrug it off a lot faster. Golden Demon's a hard venue, though. I just got wobbly on this. But I don't have to. I gotta remember, nobody's gonna see this part, Anne. Quit agonizing over it. Yeah. Yeah, they were judging for Slayer and stuff. Or judging for the 1, 2, 3s, yep. Yep, yep. Yeah, my problem right now is just that I'm prioritizing other things again. I don't know if I'll have anything for Golden Demon. We'll see. But I'm not gonna, like, you know, be hard on myself if I don't. Last night I just decided to play Path of Exile because they've got a new season. And I was kind of in the mood to run around murdering things. But my build was so weak for the first five levels, I ended up dying to things instead. Like you do. I'm a very squishy character. My build is very squishy this time, and I'm like, oh no. I like to play tankier builds so that I can face roll. Because I'm not a great strategic player, and I'm not good at, like my rotation and all that. I just like to run around and kill things. There we go. So just a little bit of edging. Again, this doesn't need to be brilliant. This is the other side of the blade. It's not going to be seen. It's in shadow, so leaving a big shadow here is probably a best thing. So we'll do that. Alright, and then I'm going to put this in place again and see if I even have to paint this side of the arm. Because this part, I think, is going to be tucked into the corner. I might not need to paint it at all. Other than having the base coat on, obviously. Loop, get up here, little thing. Tuck that in. Alright, so the arm is definitely tucked into the cape here, and nobody's going to see the backside of that. The hilt does stick out, so the backside will need a little bit of highlight. I might be able to attach this. I can get at the ribbons. I can just paint the arm. Yeah, I think I can attach the arm now, guys. That's actually great. I think I need to get my Zap-A-Gap, though, so hold on, hold that thought, and we'll put his sword on. Hey, good girl, Kiki. Are you with me? Yeah, you hanging out? Good girl. You are a good girl. You are a good girl. All right, where's the stuff? Here we are. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, we're gonna get ready for our walk soon. We're gonna get ready for our walk soon, Keeks. Yeah, it's almost time. It's almost time, Kiki. It's almost time. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Good girl. Kiki says hello, everybody. Alternative style Pokemon sculptor, huh? Oh, good girl, Kiki. All right, Mama's got to put together the model. Boop. I did Pokemon Go for a while. It was a good motivator to walk. I used it a lot during the pandemic. Uh-oh. Clogged snozzle. Definite clogged snozzle up here. Needed to kind of make sure I can clear this. You can use a Poke Tool on the glue nozzle too. Yeah, there we go. Just a little bit of a clog there. A tiny bit there of debris up at the top. There we go. Just a little bit of glue. And we can pop this sucker in here. Ah! Come on now. Be good. There we are. Woohoo! Shiny. Shiny sword. Very shiny. Repeats the silver that we've got going up there. It'll be a little harder now to highlight the stuff behind it, but there's not a lot behind it, so I'm feeling okay about that choice. I do need to get that little button while I've got my silver out, because I forgot about it the other day. Yeah, for sure. I think Adepticon's a good con, personally. If I had to pick a con to go to every year other than ReaperCon, it would probably be Adepticon. Excepted, of course, that they keep having it in the Midwest when the worst weather happens. Like, I always ask myself, why the heck am I in the Chicagoland / Milwaukee land area when the weather is at its crappiest? Because that is Adepticon. But I think the vendor hall, especially for if you're into miniatures, the vendor hall is tops at Adepticon. Because it's like all miniature stuff. Almost 100%. It's got so much miniature stuff. And then, of course, a lot of different painting competitions. Like Resin Beast. And a lot of other companies having smaller competitions. And, of course, if you like to game, there's a lot of gaming, too. So, yeah, I enjoy... Other than the weather... I typically enjoy Adepticon. There we go. Just needed to shine that up. Yeah, it's a good show. And I'm looking forward to like trying the Milwaukee one. Also, I need to highlight this up here, guys. I can put a big broad white highlight right up on that little shield, which will help keep the eye from popping down to this too much. So we only used our silver today. We didn't get to any gold, but that's okay. And I didn't get to the gray, but I can do the gray slightly different. So I'm going to pop this up. Since this is a slightly rounded shield, I'm doing a slightly rounded highlight, scooped out highlight. Yeah, yes, if you just like to walk around and look at minis, Adepticon is great. Agreed, Butts. Yeah, I think it... Like, and in the olden days, I wasn't as into it, but the latest iterations of Adepticon, I've really enjoyed attending. A little bit of highlight down at the bottom. And then, of course, there are classes, yes. I never mention that because I never take them at Adepticon. I'm always just there for the being in the midst of the hobby. And I don't want to throw learning new things into the middle of that. I'm much more likely to attend a weekend workshop around here than I am to take a class at a convention, because at a convention I'm usually there to have fun, with the exception of like ReaperCon, where I'd still do a fair amount of work. Yeah, all the terrain and all the various game rooms. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. Oh yeah. If you don't otherwise have a chance to take classes, for sure, Adepticon is great. I mean, you get a lot of the Europeans there, so you get people you wouldn't normally be able to learn from. Try and rock it. If it's your groove, rock it. There, that helps, because that brings more white right up here, which helps kind of fight with this. We have only little pieces of silver in here, so it's not a lot to help pull the pull the eye away from this big silver blade. So everything being light up here is definitely good, because this is very distracting down here. The blade is just so big. If it was narrower, it'd be better. But because it's so big and it's so shiny, it pulls the eye. So when I highlight the gray, I'm probably going to bring it up a fair bit so that we can offset some of that. Yeah, one of the longer ones. Yeah, agree. Agree, Butts. Yeah, I like the longer workshop type classes myself, if I'm going to do it. Especially if you're going to take it from a really top-end instructor, then I feel like you're going to learn more. Put some pure white highlights down here while I have a couple minutes. Yeah, David rolls his eyes at me because I like Andy Warhol's style because it's so smooth. But I grew up with being like smooth being king. Like that was my start in mini painting, was when everybody was trying to be smooth. So I still appreciate a really good smooth paint job, whereas David prefers texture. There, bringing up the highlight there, just bringing up highlights a couple other places. Trying to bring up highlights. We need to do more on the sword now that it's in place, but we can do gold next time. But yeah, because we need to do the buttons here too. I mean, from me, like David uses MSP on a wet palette, so he is using thinner paint, but he likes to keep subtle brush strokes in his painting, unless he's painting for Golden Demon, at which point he knows he has to go smoother because that's the style. Not totally smooth, but he needs to go a little bit tighter than he usually does. He's a pretty loose painter left to himself. But I would say his paint is thicker than mine, but mine is thinner than almost everybody's except for Rhonda's. Rhonda and I probably have similar paint consistencies that we use. But yeah, he works on a wet palette, so the MSP is being thin. But David, to work MSP successfully on a wet palette, you got to have your wet palette be very dry. Like, David essentially, like, he's got a sponge that's pretty much squeezed out. He's got the wet paper on top of that sponge, but then his paper is, like, curling up at the edges. It's drying at the edges. Like, that's how dry his wet palette is to work with MSP. I'm going to be doing a video on that for YouTube as well, just to get that word out to the greater mini painting community. Because a lot of people use wet palettes, and they kind of feel like they can't use MSP, but the key is really that you need to use a drier wet palette. You can still do it. And David does it all the time, and he paints like world-class paint jobs doing it. So, but yeah, David and I paint very differently, Val. In some ways, since we've started living together, like his style has gone closer to mine, and mine has gone closer to his. Since we started living together and comparing our paint jobs. Like, he's started doing, like, more realism and more blending, and I've started doing a lot more lighting. So, we've kind of, like, we've cross-pollinated. Yeah, I pretty much paint with glazes and washes. That's what I do. Yep. That'd be it. That's the way I like to, I do use thicker paint when I'm wet blending. And now that I'm using the golden open paints, I'm like changing up my paint consistency a bit as well. But those are blendable paints, so. Curling wet palette paper. Well, I mean, you can use MSP on a wet palette that's wetter, but your paint's going to thin itself a lot more. So it really depends then on, how much control do you want. Like, David prefers to use a dry wet palette, and then he'll just add water to his paint on the palette to thin it down and use it. Like, he's much more likely to just mix it brush by brush so that he has control over his paint consistency when he's applying it. That's kind of how he rocks. Anyway, hey guys, look, we're getting close. We're getting close to done. Means we can throw another new model into the rotation. Yeah. Yeah, and I've got so many new models lined up. Maybe we'll do the Phase Cat when this one's done. We've been starting a lot, but I want to work in some of the monster minis, and I want to do Phase Kitty. So we might do a monster in this slot after this is done. Yes, yeah, you don't want water droplets on it. Yep, exactly. Michael's got it. Yeah, so it's definitely there's a way to be more successful with using MSP on the wet palette, given that our paint is not as thick. Man, when I was testing those John Blanche paints from Army Painter, like the red is so thick, like and goopy, like you had to throw so much water into it to make it workable. So yeah, since MSP is more fluid out the bottle, then you have to use less water in your wet palette. Quite a bit. Rhonda should be on it too. Awesome. Yes. All right. Excellent. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. Quindy, thank you for modding. I'm going to let you guys go so that Quindy can have a break before Rhonda comes on. And I hope you all have a lovely day. All right. See you. Oh, wait. Later. Bye.